We have another case of a TikToker who is faking their art process with AI art, allegedly. Now, a disclaimer before I get into this, the original video has now been deleted along with like everything from that person's account. So the videos that I will be showing you are like downloaded recordings that other people have posted. So as a result, some of the stuff might be a little bit jank. And again, this is all alleged. This is me and internet creators' theories, but the stuff does look a bit suspicious to me. So let's get into this. This is the art piece in question that cracked everything wide open. On first glance, the rendering of the piece looks really pretty. It's very colorful, very glowy with a lot of underwater pastels. If we do look a little bit deeper, there are some anatomical mistakes that, we could maybe argue like a lot of beginner artists make, newer artists make, even more experienced artists have a slip up like that. I've done that where like the jawline, the shape of the head kind of goes out a little bit far. So I've been there. I'm not trying to say that I'm holier than thou, anything like that, but there are reasons to think that AI have been used in this process. Now, this video is posted by the account by the name of Stanford Freaky Pines. So this was the original post on that account where the post is now down, but the original post that blew this all up on the account had 128,000 likes. It's like a slideshow. So the first photo is like a meme drawing where there's a stick figure guy who is holding his phone, sad, being like, nobody likes my art. And then a really happy little character looking in front of their laptop being like, yay, 5 views. They showcase their art piece. This is the art piece in question, the rainbow girl underwater.
The mouth, nose, and eyes are all different as well.
And
Don't use AI and go to such lengths to pretend it's actually your art.
so let me point out like some of the things I believe they're indicating for being suspicious. The first one being the use of the line work. So it's a little bit odd. It can be an artistic choice, but it's not necessarily as common to see people who draw with like line art for only half the piece. They do use line art, but it just disappears sometimes, right? You can see the very like solid black line work that is not present for the nose, but is present for the eyes. There is a line work for the ear, and again, there is like a floating ear right here. Again, for this one, the line work for the ear disappears behind a strand of hair and it never reappears again.
The mouth, nose, and eyes are all different as well.
I would say what's a bit suspicious to me, which is what is making me think this is AI and somebody trying to trace off of AI artwork and not just a beginner artist, is there's a lot of inconsistencies in the piece that typically you don't see with beginner artists. So for one, the eyes. AI art, when they make irises, they tend to make them very different. So even though for these irises, the color is the same, the way it's rendered is really different. Do you see this? The light blue kind of like flows up and wiggles a little bit and drops back down. It kind of looks like a cowboy hat if you kind of like don't really look at it too closely. And this one looks more like a stingray, like a little like manatee kind of popping up. So that's just a bit odd. And then not to mention the disappearing line art. We just have line art that swoops down, disappears. So weird things connect. Like the eyeliner goes across the entire eye, swoops around the water, like the inner corner of the eye, and just disappears. And then the white of the eye, that is the barrier between the white of the eye and the tear duct, swoops down to then form the rest of the line that will be the lower lash line. It's just a bit of an odd choice, and not to mention the fact that the eye just disappears. Like, do you see what I mean here? There is the iris, and then there is a gap, and then the eyeliner. And you see it happens on this side too. You could argue, like, maybe it's the water line for the upper lash line that's showing. I don't think this is the case here because it doesn't make too much sense. Because again, typically people who render at such a high level, if they do draw the water line in, they will do it for like both the upper and lower lash line. Those are just kind of some elements that look a little bit confusing. Not to mention the completely different shapes for the eyebrows. So you might be like, oh, maybe these are beginner mistakes, beginner art mistakes, right? Maybe they're newer, but then they had posted a speed paint, like proving quote unquote it's their art, and the speed paint is even more suspicious. So the speed paint is then posted by this account by the name of Joe Mama Aho. Sorry, that is just their name. And so they have the speed painting here. They do kind of like talk over it a little bit. So we'll just look at this though.
Don't tell me people, Ashley, believe this is not AI, especially with the fake speed paint time-lapse. I'm risking my only art account for this because
By the way, this drawing in the background is their piece. It's not the speed paint.
it is too unfair to artists out there wasting hours to make art for little to zero view. To summon that traced AI art with 4K fans defending them without even differentiate a real-time lapse. I understand that everyone have their own way to start drawing an art, but there are too many questionable art choice in their speed paint. First, no sketcher base,
So
just
here's the speed
straight-up
paint.
line art that look traced. There are people start with a color base, shapes, or sketch line. If you slow down, you can easily see the line are traced from the AI art. But they are trying to see legitimate by faking doing face line to measure where eyes and nose should be placed.
So let me just pause here. So, because I know it's really fast, so I apologize. But yeah, so this is like if you stop their sketch process, this is like one of the frames you get, which is really odd. There's lines that don't make sense. Now, some people do draw based on the anatomical head, but they are not. So what I'm referring to is this, like kind of like a 3D model that shows the head in respect to the planes of the face, right? So we have the cheekbones, the nose. This is not that. So that's why to me, this kind of reads like it's a fake process, right? Where they're trying to fake the art process to make it look like they know what they're doing, but it just looks very suspicious. And you might be like, oh, Kat, but like, what if they're just a beginner artist who doesn't know the planes of the face well? But then you look at the level of rendering they are allegedly capable of achieving, and then it doesn't make as much sense anymore, because somebody who can render to this degree would reasonably understand how the planes of the face work. It could be a little bit off, but it wouldn't be this off, right? And some other aspects that are a little bit odd to me is they block in where the eyebrow should be, and then they draw in some of the hairs of the eyebrow in the front. And then on the left eye, they just draw it completely above the eyebrow. It's not even in line with the eyebrow. So some more speed paint that we have here.
Bruh, who draw anatomy like this?
And yeah, like again, this to me does not look like a beginner artist who is just doesn't fully understand anatomy. This to me looks like somebody who's tried to fake an art process.
Girl, what kind of line is this?
And look at this, all of this type of line work in your sketch. So you're able to do a sketch this detailed. It basically can pass as line art, but you don't know the planes of the face. And again, I'm not saying you have to memorize this. Most people just Google a reference image of this and go off of that, right? You don't, some artists have it memorized, some people don't.
Is so traced. Here is one of my personally questionable part for them. As an artist, you usually split the background and the main character layer to keep clear on which layer you are drawing on. For example, I have 3 layers to make my MC more blend into the surrounding color scheme. Then darker and lighter shading blast more color to reflect the blue light from the sky. But they didn't even do that. And it's so sus that they split every inch of coloring part as if they are trying to copy the same coloring as the AI pictures. Because if you draw, you will have different layers of coloring for different steps of shading and lighting. But them straight up look like they are trying to mimic the original art by coloring without even understanding the basics of any shading, lighting, color values. I will apologize to anyone if I ever wrong.
And I agree. That's why it's suspicious. So, sorry, I'm bringing Bob back. Bob, my stick figure, okay? So, I was using Bob as an example for another video. If you've seen that video, you're the OG. Actually, I don't know what order these videos will go up. Maybe you'll see it later. Who knows? Okay, but I was just using Bob as an example because, sorry if it looks jank, I drew it with my mouse. But most people who draw characters, maybe they put like a little bit of a background color, then they will draw in their character, and they will do some shading and highlighting, you know, like reasonable amount of shading and highlighting for what makes sense. And then, if you were to draw your character in harsh environmental lighting. So being underwater would count as some pretty harsh environmental lighting. Most people out the gate will not get the lighting correct. They will do some basic coloring, whatever. And then once they draw in the background, they will blend their character in. So let's say in the case of Bob, let's say our guy Bob is like underwater, you know, he's very, very underwater. I don't know, just put in some colors on Bob, okay? Then like a lot of artists typically will, I don't know, try to blend their character into the backgrounds after they've selected what color is gonna be what. Maybe something like this, you know? And then maybe if you're being really fancy, I'm so sorry, this is gonna look really bad. I'm doing it with my mouse. You might, oh geez, you might erase a little bit because that's like the shine of the water, you know, kind of like bouncing off of you, something, 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 and the third. I hope you guys catch my drift, okay? This is like kind of crap because I'm using my mouse, but you kind of see my point, right? Because there's gonna be some like water reflections up here, yada yada. But anyways, you will then draw in the harsh environmental lighting after you finish rendering the piece. Typically out the gate, like you don't see people have a completely white background and then they're like, I know exactly what colors I need to choose to blend my character in. So I'm just gonna start drawing with that color. I'm just gonna make Bob this color and then make his body this color, and then their eyes are gonna be this color, and then you draw the background and you're like, ta-da, Bob's blended it. Like, most of the time it doesn't work like that. Absolute units of an art gods can do that. Those types of people typically also have like 20 years of industry experience. When I see that, it's a little bit of a red flag. They could be the absolute goat of an artist, or they could be using some nefarious methods, but it's not exactly the end of the world because some people can do that. And then Joe Mama put up a second video.
Hi Guy, I'm here to update a few things about my last TikTok video, because I never thought it will blew up this much. First, I would like to apologize the part about drawing methods, which include the no sketch, line art, coloring, layering, art style, and more. I didn't mean to offend or.
So yeah, TLDR, basically, a lot of people got offended with their other video because they were like, hey, because they don't draw with like a sketch, it's weird. And a lot of people were upset because they're like, I don't draw with a sketch. I've had this in my videos as well, and I'll just say this here, guys. I don't think Joe was like this, and I am on the same boat where I wasn't talking about you, right? Like, if you are not using AI art, then I'm not talking about you. But I get it. Maybe it came off a certain way, right? Like, the thing is, to accuse or like indicate that somebody is using AI art, it's you take everything together as a whole. If you are somebody who draws without a sketch, you're the fucking goat. I wish I could do that. But you did legitimately draw it yourself. You know, it's everything together. So like if somebody draws without a sketch and they don't undo ever, so their piece is perfect out the gate with no undoing, and they are really, really capable of drawing the character in some strong environmental lighting that typically people need a lot of years of art experience to do, but they also somehow make beginner anatomy mistakes that looks odd. Like, all of that together is why people are like, hey, this looks a little bit suspicious and like it could be AI art. If you just do like one or two of these things, that does not mean you're using AI art, and you will know that you're not using AI art. I think that's the message they're trying to get across. And again, I also want to add one more disclaimer. A lot of beginners will sometimes see these types of videos and be like, well, I'm a beginner and I make these beginner anatomy mistakes. If you're a beginner artist, your art will look like a beginner did it, and nobody will accuse you of using AI. It is just when the level of rendering skill is so high, but the level of anatomy understanding, composition understanding, and like the understanding of why things are done a specific way is not there, then it just like, how did this happen? You know, again, there are like extreme niche cases where somebody has an extremely high rendering skill and they just only like rendering, so they just completely never bother to study anatomy. There are people like that, but they're extremely niche cases.
Now I am going to talk about the creator after doing more research and people findings credit to a Chikoris video. They have a video showing the art that are either trace or heavily referenced without crediting. Original artists are just simply tracing over AI.
So they do reference a video, and I will show you that video now. So this is the account that posted it, Chikoris, and I'm gonna mute it because there's no text to speech, so I don't want to get in trouble. But basically the caption reads, it's just her art looks so much like other art that I've seen online. So this is an example of that person's art piece, and this is a photo that was found online. Again, the ears are basically the same, the posing is the same, some of the coloring is different though. And then the caption on the text reads, like, can y'all see the resemblance? Maybe I'm just stupid. So here we have another side-by-side, one of allegedly their artwork and another one of some art that you could find on Pinterest. And again, if you look at the side-by-side, their art is extremely heavily inspired by this Pinterest piece, right down to the same color as everything. It's like they color selected off of the piece. And here's the thing, some artists do this, right? They do art studies where they will study another person's artwork and they will try to replicate it in their own, like on their own, to try to learn the artist techniques. This is a really valid thing that a lot of people do. Don't post it and claim it's yours, because by posting it and not giving credit to the original artist, you're essentially unspokenly claiming the art piece as yours. That is where it's, in my opinion, no longer okay. Here's another side-by-side, right, where we can see one is their art piece and one is another piece that is on Pinterest. And if you look at the side-by-side, it is again like the same colors, basically color selected. It's not necessarily traced, but it's so extremely heavily referenced that it's like uncomfortable, right? Doesn't seem like any credit was given for this piece to the original artist as well. I could be wrong, right? Maybe there was some credit and I didn't see it because it's gone. Here is another one. This is a Twitter user by the name of Shiro, and this is their art. They have posted art looking for emergency comms. Here we can see what looks to be what the other person drew, which is like extremely referenced. And then just a direct drawing off of Spy X Family. And then this one, again, this is a pixel image of Lux from League, the Cosmic Lux skin. And this is their version of it with, again, like no credit whatsoever. And then another side by side of quote unquote their piece. And if any of you guys can understand Spanish, I'd love if you translated it because the artist quote unquote pieces, their posts are all in Spanish on ArtStation. Again, it's like completely color selected as well. The color profile is the exact same. Again, another side by side of it being the same with the tutorial. And the Chikoris account writes, so I'm so sorry, actually, no, I'm not. When you take art, come others and alter it in the slightest, you're not taking inspiration, you're straight up stealing. Using a template still isn't even your art, so maybe actually credit the real artist. And again, allegedly the original artist is 15, so they are young. Let's not send hate to them, right? Let's not do that. They're young, they can learn to be better. But going back to Joe's video, now that we've seen that.
These of this art are clearly traced by AI too. Cause tell me why I found the same categories of AI art print on AliExpress.
And yeah, I was gonna say too, right? But those Pinterest pieces that they were referencing does look like AI art, but it's hard to tell if it's just like a zoomed in crop of the image, right? If we don't get to see the full image, it's hard to tell whether it is or not, especially if it's kind of like low quality like this. So I don't want to throw around accusations without like fully seeing it.
AI art.
But it
Better say
definitely
they
looks
tried
sus.
changing the face shape and make the pic bigger, so that even they are called out, they can just say is heavily referenced. I'm not sure if it's an original drawn pic or AI, since I haven't found the artist yet, but they also do the same thing as the last one. This one is also unsure if it's original art or AI art since I haven't found the artist, being heavily referenced without any credits. Before anyone trying to defend them again, you can just search up with your finger. It's not that hard. You guys can look at GCH or his videos for more old arts that are heavily refreshed or traced with AI art. I don't understand if they are able to have efforts too. Make fake Speedpaint time-lapse. Why don't they learn to draw instead? In their older drawings, they are mostly just heavily referenced. They have the potential to learn. You can learn by tracing as long. You have the creator permission, and credits them, don't get me wrong. I understand that is a slow process to improve to become the artist you wanted to be. When I was starting out 12 years old maybe, I traced an art once because I know that I am able to achieve that kind of skill. Without crediting the artist, looking back at my old self, I know how wrong it is and how much it hurts the original artist just because I want a shortcut to achieve what I want. I'm only making the video because I have clear evidence that proving it AI traced, but please don't jump anyone or harass anyone for this.
And then the Cheery account they were referencing, the people in the comments were referencing this account that had allegedly been getting bullied for talking about it. I haven't seen the post. Maybe they deleted it. If that's the case, I feel bad for them because they were not wrong for mentioning that there was AI usage, likely, right? And this is the account now. All the posts are gone. And the bio reads, instead of worrying about my life, worry about your life. And that's kind of the end of it, right? I would definitely say with a sentiment like, oh, it's like they're just tracing AI, so it's not that big of a deal. I would say it's still bad though, right? Because like you're setting a false precedent for a lot of people, People are gonna look at you, other 15-year-olds are gonna look at you and be like, and compare and be like, wow, why can't I draw like this person? This person was able to draw so well in such a short amount of time. Why can't I make such a progression like this person? Why can't I do this? And it's because they couldn't either. They heavily referenced and allegedly traced AI artwork to achieve what they did. And you just didn't know. So that's what I do think. There could be more harm potentially caused with people faking AI art as their art and tracing it than people might think. But again, don't send hate to anybody involved, right? This is just an educational piece to like kind of make you guys aware of elements and how people can fake AI arts. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. And as always, let's be respectful. And as of filming, we actually hit 120K subs on YouTube. Thank you so much, guys. That is so cool. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I also have an Etsy shop in which I sell digital goods and assets. And on my Coffee, I have some art for free. And I also stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So I hope to catch you guys there or in another one of my videos. Peace.